She was my wife and the best-selling author for 10 years. Following the success of her most recent book, Starry Sky, she declared she was retiring from writing. Tears filled her eyes as she gripped the microphone during the book signing event. Her profound love touched the internet and left countless fans in tears as she said, "I dedicate this book to the memory of my lost youth." But as I sat in a fancy restaurant that I had booked 6 months in advance, I tore up the contract for the movie adaptation, which she had always hoped would be replaced with a divorce decree. Later, as she frantically looked for me, I departed with style, heading across the ocean. Chapter 1. I had just sold my company shares when Chloe got home. She complained as she kicked off her high heels. "Why are the lights off?" I said icily. "I don't like it." Despite furrowing her brows, Chloe remained silent. "William, what's wrong with you? Today is our 7th wedding anniversary and you couldn't even make dinner." "Why should I make dinner?" she asked, pointing to the cold stove, only after she had come into the kitchen and noticed that dinner hadn't been prepared as usual. Maybe Chloe was offended by my strange demeanor. She slapped me and flung her bag in my face. "William, are you giving me attitude? It's just a little late. I told you today is my new book's signing event and my last fan meeting before I retire. Are you asking me to leave all those fans behind just to have dinner? Does that sound right?" However, she felt comfortable announcing her love for Orion in public on this day. I felt foolish all of a sudden as I sat on the couch. After saying, "Chloe, let's get a divorce," I went upstairs to the sound of running water in the restroom. I dabbed at my face. I was waiting for Chloe to keep our date an hour ago at a restaurant that I had booked 6 months in advance. Our 7th wedding anniversary was today. Chloe promised me a surprise. In addition, I held her eagerly awaited contract for the movie adaptation of her new book, picturing the delight she would experience when she got it. My heart was filled with sweetness when Chloe messaged me just before the signing event saying, "Hubby, I'm a bit busy today, wait for me kisses." I casually opened the signing event's live stream and replied that it was no rush. With tears in her eyes, Chloe stood in a white dress, clutching the microphone as she choked and started talking. I froze in place as the live stream was flooded with thunderous applause. "Thank you all for your support. Starry Sky is based on real events, and it records the innocent love between me and my first love, Orion." This book holds all my entire youthful, naive memories, and I've decided to retire from writing after this. Many fans hurried forward to inquire about Chloe's romance with Orion's outcome. I didn't breathe. My heart broke when she said, "My love left me when I was 18. I've missed him all these years." Her eyes were red when she spoke again. I had no idea how I had returned home. Chapter 2. After taking a shower, I began packing my belongings. If Orion was her true love, what was I to her? What did 7 years of marriage mean? I had no idea when Chloe had entered the bedroom. For the first time, I noticed a glimmer of panic in her normally serene eyes as she observed what I was doing. She took my hand and started talking. I paused for a second and stopped moving as well. "Hubby, I know that today's incident made you angry." Chloe kept acting flirtatious and shaking my arm. I felt mocked as I saw the book in Chloe's hands with Starry Sky printed on the cover. "I saved a signed copy of Starry Sky for you. Aren't you happy?" "I was late for our anniversary. It's my fault." Her face instantly turned pale as she reminisced about her late first love on our wedding anniversary, and now she was pulling me into it as well. I pushed the book away icily, saying, "You can keep the book for remembering Orion. I don't need it." She attempted to speak, but I had already picked up my bags and started to head for the door. When Chloe saw my unwavering back, she became irate William, are you done? Orion has been dead for so many years. Do you really need to argue with me every day over a dead person? No, it wasn't necessary. However, I was aware that Orion was never simply a deceased person in Chloe's heart. His routines, interests, words, and facial expressions were all part of our lives. I believed I had finally won Chloe over after 7 years. I had no idea, though, that Orion was the one she still harbored the deepest desires for. I would leave since I had always been the one left out of this 3-person relationship. My silence infuriated Chloe as well. Apparently frustrated, she threw our wedding photo at my feet from upstairs. I dragged my luggage down the lonely street and walked by myself. Okay, you go. If you're leaving, don't come back tomorrow. We're going to the civil affairs office to divorce. I kept thinking about my past relationship with Chloe Orion. I was aware that Chloe's first love had passed away. From the beginning to the end, Orion had played a significant role in her childhood. They shared their deepest emotions while attending the same school and painting together in art studios. This continued until Orion missed Chloe's coming-of-age ceremony because of a significant art competition on her 8th birthday. Chloe and Orion got into a heated argument that day, and Chloe even threatened to end their relationship if he couldn't return in time. In a desperate attempt to return, Orion risked crossing the railroad tracks, only to be struck by an unexpectedly arriving train. There was no sign of Orion's body left by the swift train. Chloe was so distraught that she even attempted suicide by lying on the tracks. I was an intern in the psychiatry department when Chloe's parents took her to the hospital. I was in the hospital almost every day and night trying to cure Chloe. Ultimately, Chloe opened up, and our relationship transcended the doctor-patient dynamic. I was hesitant when Chloe timidly gave me her short story and confessed her love, but I gave in to love's power over reason. Chloe dreamed of working in the movie business. She yearned to see her creations on the big screen. I gave up my love of medicine for Chloe and made an investment in a movie studio. I had always thought that Chloe and I would always be together. However, I became aware of my absurdity today. In my pocket, my phone rang. It was my godmother who called. "William, you really sold the film company. That was your life's work. I asked you to sell it and move abroad with us, but you refused. Why suddenly? If I want to sell it, I'll sell it." I spoke to my godmother. The person on the other end of the line paused for a moment before exclaiming, "Godmother, I want to move abroad." "You finally figured it out, William. That's great. When will you come? I'll be returning to China next month." "How about tomorrow? I'll book the flight." I stayed at a nearby hotel. After booking my flight, I never got a call from Chloe. Rather, she shared something on Twitter. I looked at it. She was at the school where Orion used to go. She had taken a picture of Orion's teacher with the caption, "The best teacher in the world." A huge landscape painting was hanging in the background of the picture. I knew right away that it was Orion's last painting. In addition to publicly declaring her love for Orion on our wedding anniversary, she also paid a casual visit to Orion's mentor following our argument. Seeing that post made me sneer, even though I knew that Chloe didn't care about me. Something broke inside of me. I tossed my phone aside and dozed off, burying my head in the pillow. Chapter 3. My phone rang frantically, waking me up. Chloe's closest friend was calling. "William, Chloe is intoxicated. Would you be able to come and get her?" I said without hesitation. Chloe's best friend panicked instantly and said, "I'm not going." "William, what kind of person are you? Do you even know that Chloe sold the rights to Starry Sky at a low price, just so your company could run smoothly?" "Yes, she said those things in front of the media, but she did it to make a quick sale. Chloe has worked so hard for you, and you're treating her like this. I'm really heartbroken for her." I was speechless. How did I not know this? Then I recalled the film adaptation contract I had written for Chloe that day, and I thought it was all so absurd. Chloe sold the rights to Starry Sky to my company for a low price. I hung up the phone, but after giving it some thought, I felt that I should at least make amends with Chloe. "You can think whatever you want. Anyway, Chloe and I are done." To get to the bar Chloe's friend had recommended, I took a cab. Chloe was, in fact, slouched in a booth, utterly inebriated. Chloe nuzzled against me like a kitten as soon as she saw me, her eyes turning red, and she threw herself into my arms, saying, "Hubby, you're finally here." It was difficult for me to push her away because of her loving gestures and reliant speech. It occurred to me that perhaps there had been a misunderstanding after all. But as soon as Chloe put her arms around my neck, tears started to spill onto my clothing. "Orion, you're finally here. I thought you were angry with me and wouldn't come back. I got all your paintings from the teacher and I've raised the money for your exhibition. You won't have to worry about no one seeing your work anymore. I'm going to hang your paintings all over the city. I want the whole world to know that Orion is the greatest artist." My body stopped moving, and when I tried to, Chloe, my hand dropped, since I was unable to paint. Orion was the one who enjoyed painting. Even so, I assisted Chloe in returning to our house. As usual, I assisted her in removing her shoes and coat before gently wiping her face with a towel. Chloe, who had been half asleep, jolted awake as I went to take off her bra. Her eyes were wary as she said, "What are you going to do?" "I'm telling you, I'm Orion's girlfriend, and I won't be with you, and I'll call the police if you come any closer." My hand froze in midair, but a second later Chloe fell into a deep sleep on the bed behind her. I realized that everything she had just said was a drunken tirade. However, no one was aware that I had never touched Chloe with my fingers, not even once, in our 7 years of marriage. She had consistently claimed that she wasn't prepared. However, it was now evident that she wasn't simply not ready. She couldn't accept anyone else because she had someone else in her heart. I knew it was time for me to go after hearing Chloe mumble Orion's name and seeing her serene sleeping face. I quietly closed the door behind me as I walked out, taking out the divorce papers I had printed years ago and placing them in the most visible place on the bedside table. Still, I noticed the big headline trending on social media while I was waiting at the airport. "Famous author holds art exhibition for deceased lover, 8 years of devoted love unchanged," was a stark headline that made me feel uncomfortable, but I didn't feel anything. I just took out my SIM card and tossed it in the garbage. I noticed that Chloe had called even before I threw away the card. Chapter 4. I had already traveled overseas by the time the first rays of dawn appeared on the planet. Auntie picked me up at the airport with her family. Grace, Auntie's daughter, couldn't stop making fun of me. "William, didn't you say you wanted to be a big director? What happened? Haven't seen your debut film and you're already back?" "Where's your wife?" Grace asked, looking around behind me, and I couldn't help but feel uneasy. Everyone gave me a big hug when they saw me. Auntie gave Grace a gentle prod with her elbow before embracing me and saying, "William, welcome home." Over the course of the following few days, Auntie made sure Grace stayed with me, providing me with food, beverages, and entertainment, all the while being concerned that I might not be content. Grace would occasionally inquire as to why I traveled overseas, but I opted to say nothing. Auntie didn't get a call from Chloe until the weekend dinner. She asked if I wanted to answer the phone after I hesitated for a moment. I decided to say no, but Chloe's voice abruptly rang out on the speaker. I reluctantly answered the phone. "William, I know you're listening. I have something really important to tell you. Can you please pick up?" I was dumbfounded when Chloe, with red eyes, asked me, "William, why did you leave without saying anything?" After a brief pause, I reminded her, "We're getting a divorce." Chloe shook her head like a child at that. I didn't say anything, but Chloe on the other end of the line appeared nervous. "No, I don't agree. We can't divorce." "William, did you hear something?" "Those are all lies. It's just the reporters making things up. Please listen to me and let me explain." There was nothing to clarify. No matter how hard I tried, I was unable to conceal the fact that some things had already become inevitable. Without waiting for her to continue, I hung up the phone and said calmly, "The divorce papers are on the bedside table. Sign them and let me know." The news about Chloe and Orion was everywhere when I returned the phone to Auntie. It's hilarious that she could tell me things while still thinking back on her past love affair. I didn't have any chest pain. She must have made me numb to her lies, I thought. As anticipated, Grace eventually discovered the truth about my relationship with Chloe. She asked if I wanted to work for her company after the family dinner. I said I wasn't interested and declined. I wasn't the kind of person who had big plans. Chloe was the main reason I founded that film company. Now that I was apart from her, I had no desire to pursue anything else, but there was a playful glint in Grace's eyes. Next month, there's the World Model Competition, and our company has secured a spot. Are you sure you don't want to come? My pupils widened. I had always been so enamored with models that I would lose track of time while working on them. Throughout college, I had received numerous honors. Auntie invited me to travel overseas years ago because she thought I could have a significant influence in the modeling industry, and because the clubs there were just beginning to take shape. However, I had given up on my dream and committed to being with Chloe for her sake. All I ultimately received was her profound betrayal. I didn't want to miss this unique opportunity that was now in front of me. I accepted Grace's offer right away. I assumed I would be rusty after years of not working with models, but I was surprised to find that the muscle memory was still there. After a little practice, I was able to regain my rhythm. People raised doubts, but Grace silenced them all. On the day of the competition, she declared, "William has been specializing in this for many years. I believe in him." As I frantically adjusted my breathing in the waiting area, Grace gave me my favorite drink while clenching her fists. She encouraged me to enter the battlefield I hadn't seen in a decade. "Good luck, William. You've got this." The arena erupted in thunderous applause as I won the championship, and everyone gathered around me, including Grace, who started crying. Among the applause, I recognized a familiar face. Chloe was the one. She hurried to the stage to give me a big hug as soon as she realized I had won. I avoided her. After being hurt by the move, Chloe quickly collected herself and congratulated me, saying, "William, congratulations on winning the championship." "Thanks," I said bluntly. I turned to go after thanking him, but Chloe stopped me and said in a quiet voice, "William, when are you coming back with me?" I had never thought to ask that question before. Even so, I thought it was kind of funny to see the hope in Chloe's eyes. I declared, "I'm not coming back." Chloe became nervous and said, "I've already told you I want a divorce." Chapter 5. A temper tantrum. In Chloe's eyes, all of my disappointment and sadness amounted to nothing more than a temper tantrum. "William, I know you're angry, but haven't you been upset for long enough? Even if you're unhappy with me, surely that anger has been vented by now, right? Come on, let's go back together. Let's go back to the way things were just like before." "I'm not throwing a tantrum, I'm serious. Since you can't forget Orion so easily, I'll step aside. From now on, you can freely memorialize him without anyone getting in your way." I shook off Chloe's hand after finding it absurdly funny. However, Chloe wouldn't let go of my hand. Someone recognized her in the spotlight and began snapping pictures frantically. She felt the microphone thrust into her face. One question after another came like thunder, and Chloe was unable to respond to any of them. "Chloe, are you the author of Starry Sky? Didn't you previously say that you were going to stop writing in memory of your late lover? Who is this man? Do you have a new lover? What does Orion mean to you?" When I saw her face flushed, I realized that everything was completely ironic. I laughed icily and left the stage by myself. However, I was surprised by how persistent these reporters were. They thrust the microphone in my face and asked me scathingly pointed questions when they were unable to elicit any responses from Chloe. I looked at Chloe next to me, her lips pressed together, not a word of explanation escaping her. "Mr. William, are you the third party in Chloe and Orion's relationship? Why are you ruining their relationship? Fighting for the love of a deceased person, don't you feel any guilt?" She allowed me to be overwhelmed by the nefarious rumors. At last, Grace, who could take no more of it, forced her way through the throng to join me and silence all of the well-meaning inquiries. The focus instantly shifted to Chloe when Grace said, "What are you all saying? William and Chloe are legally married. They've been married for 7 years. As for that Orion, I've never heard of him. Even if there was a third party, it would be him." Chloe was forced to confess our relationship because she could no longer lie in front of everyone. Additionally, she used the occasion to tearfully ask me, "William, I did all of this to fulfill Orion's last wish. Now that his wish has been fulfilled, will you come back with me?" I firmly said no. With impressive strides, I left Chloe behind, calling my name in desperation. But the reporter's gossip overpowered her voice. "Sign the divorce papers soon. I don't want to take this to court." Both Chloe and I were featured in the trending stories. They disclosed every detail of our years together, though I'm not sure who made it their business. They included the period when Chloe attempted suicide, and the way I supported her during that time. Upon observing the deluge of online discussions, I experienced a moment of confusion. For Chloe, I had done so much. However, it was now irrelevant. The amount of work I had put in now held no significance, as I had decided to let go. Regarding Chloe, she was running around completely overwhelmed by the media's intense barrage. However, Chloe refused to get a divorce from me, regardless of what the public said. She even stated in public that we wouldn't part ways and that everything was a misunderstanding. I was unwilling to invest any additional time in it, as I believed it to be absurd. I filed for divorce right away. However, I was surprised when she arrived at my house. Grace threw a string of parties to celebrate my win. After drinking for a few days, I felt lightheaded and dizzy. I wanted to get a cup of soy milk the following morning, but before I could go, I noticed Chloe standing at the neighborhood gate with a huge bouquet of flowers. Her nose turned red in the chilly winter wind. Chloe stood there, stomping her feet and puffing out air, rearranging the flowers in her arms every now and then. Her face lit up when she saw me. "William, I finally waited for you." "What are you waiting for me for?" she responded. The cautious tone Chloe used was something I had never heard before, a tone I had never dared imagine in the past. I know I was wrong. The art exhibition is over. "William, can we go home?" I was the one who apologized each time we got into a fight over Orion. At one point, I had hoped Orion, who was between us, would vanish. I had hoped that I might one day hold a special place in Chloe's affections. However, I came to the realization that I no longer needed it when that day actually arrived. I asked her, ignoring everything she said, "When will you sign the divorce papers?" Chloe's face went pale as I heard this, and her expression changed to one of pleading. "William, we have to discuss these painful topics whenever we meet." Painful? I didn't think so. For Orion, this question was insignificant in comparison to the hurtful things Chloe had said to me over the years. Furthermore, hadn't Chloe always desired a genuine, open identity as someone who loved Orion? I revealed everything because I didn't want to say anything more. Chloe's face instantly turned pale when she was told, "You don't have to sign, but I've already filed for divorce. The court hearing is next week. Make sure to show up." As her face turned white, she grabbed my sleeves. Chloe handed me the bouquet, saying, "I brought you something, your favorite jasmine flowers." William, can we really never go back? However, Grace, who had emerged, grabbed the flowers and threw them in the garbage before they could even approach. Chloe attempted to continue, but my face began to swell quickly from the allergic reaction. "Does William have a pollen allergy? Are you trying to kill him?" Grace drove me to the hospital right away before I could say anything. Chapter 6. I passed out from the severe allergic reaction. I needed a blood transfusion, the doctor said. However, the hospital lacked a blood supply that matched my unique blood type. It would be too late even if they attempted to obtain some from the closest location. Amidst the chaos, Chloe, who had a deep fear of pain, took the lead. She offered to give me her blood, rolling up her sleeves. Even though Chloe's face was as pale as paper when I woke up, she managed to smile weakly and say, "You're awake, William. I'm so glad you're okay." I noticed the bruise where the needle had been on her arm, and an odd sensation awoke inside of me. I was aware of Chloe's intense fear of pain. She refused to even have a physical examination because she was so terrified of it. However, my agitated heart suddenly calmed when I realized that Chloe, who was afraid of pain, would cut her wrist for Orion. My eyes met Chloe's and she smiled broadly as I said, "Thank you." I turned to Grace before she could finish, saying, "William, I'm so happy to donate blood for you. I've also booked a VIP ward for you." The happiness on Chloe's face was immediately replaced by a deep, crushing despair. How much is 1 milliliter of blood? Pay her 3 times the market price. I saw Chloe's face turn pale, as if she wanted to say something, but my vitals were rapidly declining. "William, I didn't donate blood for money." "I know, but Chloe, I don't want any more connections with you. Not even a little." When the attending physician saw this, he furrowed his brows. "I'm not. I just want to talk to him." Chloe attempted to clarify, but the doctor immediately escorted her out. "The patient is just starting to improve. He can't be emotionally agitated. Are you trying to kill him with your words?" She was not permitted to come see me for the next few days. Even now, Chloe remained outside my hospital room. She brought me a variety of nutrient-dense meals every day. However, I didn't even look at them. Grace kept her out. The explanation was straightforward. I was unable to eat the majority of the food that Chloe brought. Even some of the items on my list of allergens were present. At times, Grace would ask in disbelief, "William, you two really were together for 7 years. How come I feel like Chloe doesn't know you as well as I do? You clearly can't eat seafood or nuts, but she brought several dishes with those ingredients. Even after I told her the next time she brings me food, it's the same allergic food. Does she want to take care of you, or does she want to kill you with medicine?" I simply grinned. I think Chloe really wanted to look after me. After all, she had never entered a kitchen during our 7 years of dating. She was now preparing a fresh, nutritious meal for me each day. However, it was also true that she had no knowledge of me after 7 years. How else could I explain that Chloe, who lived with me day and night, knew nothing about my allergies while Grace, who hardly ever saw me, did? Every year, on Orion's anniversary, I remembered Chloe meticulously preparing offerings and reminding the store about what was and wasn't acceptable. She once became enraged and filed a complaint against the store because they were too busy to remember her instructions. Indifference and love were so evident. However, it was no longer relevant. Since my love for her had faded, it was no longer relevant. The court date arrived quickly, so it didn't matter if Chloe remembered my allergies or treated me well. Grace attended in my place because I hadn't been released. Chloe maintained in court that all of our issues were miscommunications. As proof of our love, she showed me numerous things I had done for her. Grace sneered and merely cited an interview Chloe had done prior to ceasing to write, which was sufficient evidence that our relationship had long since soured. In addition, she let people disparage me as the third party in her and Orion's relationship without providing any justification, and she organized an art show for Orion. The judge ultimately decided to grant our divorce. Chloe passed out as soon as I got the divorce decree. Concerned for her well-being, Grace called for an ambulance and left without turning around. Chapter 7. I recovered quickly after the divorce. I was released from the hospital in less than a week. I became the star player in major competitions after Grace signed me to her company. I even got half of the company's shares from her. I was uncomfortable about it, but Grace gave me a big smile. I was forced to agree, telling her that I would keep the shares for the time being and give them to her as dowry when she eventually got married. What is the matter? This studio would not exist without you. Accept it. If you are dissatisfied, it indicates that you do not value me. Grace, on the other hand, was not pleased. Her words were lost in the wind as she muttered, "Who wants to get married?" I don't want to get married. If I do, it has to be to... However, I could relate to Grace's emotions. I still needed time to recover from the hurt Chloe had caused me in our previous relationship. Additionally, I needed to make room in my heart for someone better. Grace and I didn't discuss romance in the days that followed. I gave the competitions my whole attention in hopes of winning numerous prestigious awards. I even broke a few world records in the process. Grace accompanied me in every competition. It felt like Doraemon was constantly taking items from her pockets that I treasured. The little club we started has expanded into a publicly traded company thanks to our combined efforts. After printing our names, mine and Grace's, on various promotional materials, we gained international recognition. I broke my own record by finishing first at the World Championship this year. I recognized a person in the audience standing at the podium. Chloe was the one. She had been to nearly all of my competitions for over a year. She even assisted me in evaluating both my own and my competitors' advantages and disadvantages. Chloe had not previously expressed any interest in model design. At one point, she even mocked my interests by telling me directly that only those like Orion, who expressed their love for the world with a paintbrush, knew what art was. I was merely engaging in childish play. She was now summarizing different tactics for me using her pen, which she had owned for many years. But I just felt annoyed. The dense stacks of notes escaped my attention entirely. I overfilled the trash can. At one point, I even told the employees nearby, "Don't bring me things like that again. If you get them, just throw them away." My train of thought was abruptly cut short when a reporter asked a question. Chloe sat up straight in the audience, and I could see the glimmer of hope in her eyes as she said, "Mr. William, your entry this time is called Love Nest, and it is said to be designed for your beloved. Can you tell us who your lover is?" She even tugged at her clothes nervously. I didn't even glance at her, though. I confidently responded to the reporter's question while holding Grace's hand. Obviously. Love Nest is a design I made for my beloved Miss Grace. She has supported me throughout the year, and I would like to take this opportunity to express my feelings to her. I knelt down in front of everyone, took out the ring I had prepared in my pocket, and asked Grace, "Grace, will you marry me?" Grace's face lit up with surprise. She nodded yes while covering her mouth and shedding tears. After the thunderous applause, we shared a kiss as though we were the only two in the world. Chloe's face was drained of color, and the crowd was a blur. Her hand appeared to slip and drop something. I took Grace's hand and started to walk toward the podium, where we would share the glory of being the world's #1, so I didn't pay attention. Chloe had vanished by the end of the award ceremony. The cleaning crew did discover an unpublished book, though. When I saw the name William in the title, I thought it was absurd. The title page read, "To the person I love most in this life." Grace asked me if I had seen anything as she approached me from behind. Grace blushed and looked shy, so I nodded and took her hand as we got into the car. "Nothing. By the way, where do you want to have the wedding?" "So soon?" "I haven't decided yet. How about the Maldives?" Like a rat watching Grace and my happiness, a familiar figure peered out from outside the venue. But I didn't turn around this time.